Hey guys, today I would like to discuss a student named Lee. He is a first grade boy and he attends my Chinese class, which takes place for only 40 minutes each week. He is a native speaker of Korean and can communicate in English. Lee comes from an affluent family background, but his parents have been unresponsive to concerns raised by his teachers. Despite their efforts to address his behavior during PTCs, his parents made excuses and failed to take action. However, it seems that Lee is extremely afraid of his mother because, according to Lee, his mom hits him. Lee is a very, very smart boy, but he struggles with disruptive behaviors in class. Despite wanting friends, he tends to tease his classmates and cause conflict. According to his homeroom teachers, his disruptive behavior caused 3 students to leave our school. Lee is very disorganized. He has messy desks, messy floor, and messy locker. Also, he has difficulty following instructions and frequently wander around in the classroom during class time. We think that he does things for enjoyment and attention rather than lack of understanding because when he is not following rules, he would observe teachers' reaction at the same time and smiles when he knows that teachers are watching. For example, he would run down the stairs in a zigzag pattern instead of walking on the right side as required. And when his teacher saw it and asked him to walk properly, he would still run in zigzag pattern. Typically, it takes about 3 reminders for him to follow a rule. And when his teacher asks him why he does this, he would simply smile and say, because it is fun. Interestingly, Lee behaves better in Korean class and displays few disruptive behaviors. However, in English-speaking environment, he struggles to follow rules and instructions. Ever since we first met Lee last summer, we all kind of can tell that he's different right away. And after teaching him for a week, his homeroom teacher labeled him as impossible and suggested that he might have ADHD or autism. Lee was excluded by his homeroom teacher because of this, both mentally and physically. Sometimes his desk is put away from other students, which sort of sends a signal to the rest of the class like, don't play with Lee. And this made it more difficult for him to make friends. One time after my Chinese class, as I was about to leave their classroom, Lee came up to me and say, Miss Fu, can I come with you? I was very confused and wasn't sure why he asked that. But then his homeroom teacher overheard it and said, that's because you actually try to include him in class activities. But I don't. He's just impossible. Our Korean teacher, however, has different point of view, and I agree with her, by the way. She said that Lee follows instructions better in Korean class, and she said that language might be the reason. In classes conducted in English, some students might not take instructions as seriously. And this is actually pretty common among Korean students. Their native language is not English. And as Korean is the instructive language in Korean class, Lee tends to follow instructions better. And this observation was supported by our vice principal. Our vice principal actually observed Lee in his classroom for about a week. And after observing Lee in his homeroom for about a week, he said that Lee doesn't seem to have medical issue, but really lacks exposure to consistent boundaries at home. As Lee's Chinese teacher, I implemented some strategy to address his behavior. I remind him about the rules constantly. I had private talks with him several times. But here's the thing. Whenever a teacher talks to Lee, Lee's immediate response is like clockwork. He will say, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Please don't tell my mom. It's almost robotic. Or he will ask, are you going to tell my mom? I promise I won't do it again. Please don't tell my mom. and then start tearing up within a second. The thing is, if we ask him to stop crying, he can also switch it off just as quickly. I know that Lee is being excluded by the rest of the class, so I wanted an intervention that is inclusive for the whole class, including Lee. So I introduced Lee points. So alongside the regular class points, Lee can earn 3 points during each class session. When he reaches 3 points with his classmates' support, the entire class can get 3 stickers each. While this approach has shown some improvement, such as Lee being able to stay seated for the entire class and following instructions after reminders, I am not quite sure whether the thing that I'm doing is right. I am not sure whether I'm reinforcing his attention-seeking behavior or whether I am really addressing the underlying issues. So that's all about Lee. Any suggestions will be highly appreciated.